Welcome to Honest HR, the podcast for informed and aspiring HR professionals intent on transforming workplace challenges into golden opportunities.
Every week, we chat with industry experts to bring you insights, trends, and actionable advice through relatable stories from the real world of HR.
Honest HR is a SHRM podcast, and by joining us, you're helping to build a more engaged workforce and drive organizational success. I'm Wendy Fong.
I'm Amber Clayton.
And I'm Monique Akanbi.
Now, let's get honest.
Welcome to Honest HR. I am Monique Akanbi, Membership Initiatives Director with SHRM. And today's topic is about humor in the workplace. And we have none other than Jamie Jackson, who goes by Chief Meme Officer by night and HR Professional by day. Welcome to Honest HR, Jamie.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So for our viewers, could you please share just a little bit about who Jamie is? But more importantly, we really want to know about this Chief Meme Officer title.
Yeah, so I've actually been in HR for the last 21 years. Mm-hmm. And I know I don't look it. It's called Botox, baby. But I actually, back in 2020, like many HR professionals, kind of felt like we were losing our mind. I have spent the last 11 years in healthcare. So I was right in the middle of the pandemic and everything was just changing so fast. And I was an HR director over 4 nonprofit clinics. And I really just like needed something to giggle at the insanity of it all. So that's when I created my alter ego, which is the Chief Meme Officer.
Oh my gosh. So you let's unpack that really quickly. And for our audience, prepare to laugh. This is one, I believe that laughter is good for the soul. And so I'm really excited about this. But you shared during the pandemic and supporting 4 nonprofit hospitals. So again, bless you to be in healthcare and in HR during that time. So I can only imagine utilizing humor to cope and to really just deal with what was a pretty challenging time for all of us, actually, for everyone in the world. So you also have a presence on social media as well.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your social media accounts, because I love it. It's humorous. So resources. So there's a play on HR. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I had always had this idea that HR can be funny because it's a very serious profession. And a lot of people don't find it funny because they're scared of HR. They think we're the police. And there's just a lot of negativity in the stigma. And I thought, what's a fun way to play into that? But really show HR professionals do have personality and we can be funny. And we go through the same stuff that all other employees go through because we too are employees. And I think what you see out there in social media is HR only works for the company, and it's like, we're employees too. So that's where I created Humorous Resources, which is a meme page that has evolved into not only HR humor, but corporate humor in general, and just kind of the misery that can be working in corporate.
Yes. Well, it makes me think back to when I practiced HR and in my organization, you're absolutely right. HR is often seen as like the compliance officer or the principal, right? And I am a firm believer of anything that I do, whether it's personal or professionally, I need to enjoy what I'm doing. And more importantly, I need to have fun. And many times we spend the majority of our awake hours where?
Yep.
At work, right? And so we really need to enjoy what we're doing, but also have a good time while doing it. So I absolutely love how you married humor and HR together. So that way it brings the human back into HR for many of those individuals, whether it's organizations or employees that think that HR is dry and dull.
Yep.
Absolutely not. We're a ball of fun.
Yes,
right?
we are. Yes, we are. And I would dare say most of us. You just never get to know us.
Yes. That is true. That is Absolutely, absolutely true. So why do you think humor is important in the workplace outside of spending the majority of our time at work? Why is it important?
I just think that it is a great way to infuse culture. I think it's a great way to bond with your coworkers. I have always been like a silly, goofy girl, and it has been the easiest way for me in HR to show my authentic self to my employees and to show them that I am just like them. You know, I'm working my 9 to 5, or I'm working this, and then I got to go get the kids, and I'm just like you. And I'm not, you know, a lot of times HR is held to a different standard. We're put on a stage, and I completely understand it because we're the ones that have to uphold the policies, right? And so kind of getting down to that level and be like, I'm just like you. And I think humor can do that.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with everything that you're saying. What's the funniest workplace moment you have ever experienced?
I've definitely had a few, but the one that comes to mind is when, you know, when the pandemic, a lot of people went fully remote. And so this was back, I believe it was in 2022, and my son had just gotten his blow up T-Rex costume for Halloween.
Oh my, I can't even, wait, pause. I can see where this is going right now. Okay.
Yep. So I
just got a visual. So
he was 5 at the time, and I was on our people, like we have a whole team, because I still do work in corporate. We have a whole team of like people. It's the people team is what we call it. And we were on our monthly team meeting, and I have a section that I always do. And I was showing my metrics, and I'm in the zone. I am focused. And little did I know that my 5-year-old decided to try on his costume. And Daddy had put batteries in it, which I also had not known. And he sauntered his way up here, and he was doing a little dance behind me. So everyone starts laughing, and I'm thinking, yeah, my metrics are amazing. Thank you. No, it's my child dancing in the background. So that I wish I had that on video, because that was one of those moments that was just, I wish I could show it to everyone. It was just so funny.
Oh my gosh. So you know what that makes me think of? And actually, I will say, I thought you were going to say you came to work dressed in the T-Rex suit. So, but equally funny, right? Not even realizing that your son is in the background giving the entire team a show. You don't know anything about it. But it makes me think back to even during the pandemic when a lot of us was working from home, right? I think that's probably where the majority of our humor moments recently have occurred. And I remember there was a time where I was conducting a training during the pandemic. And at this time, we were just getting things done around the house, right? So I decided that I was going to have someone come and pressure wash the house. And at the time, I had 2 dogs. And completely forgot that my dogs are going to go haywire when the pressure washer washing company came, right? So I'm doing this training for our management team, and oh my gosh, they absolutely lose it. And I thought I muted myself, right? So in the background, all you hear is just dogs barking, and I'm yelling, "Put them up!" and da-da-da. And my president's on the call, and everyone is just like cracking up laughing. But I will tell you, for a training that they thought was going to be dull and boring, I could not have planned that better, right? But if you think about the benefits of just the laughter, and it's one of our universal languages, right? If you think about universal languages, it's food, right? We all have food in common.
Yes.
We all have music. It's a universal language, and also laughter as well. And it's infectious. So Jamie, for our audience, how would you recommend they navigate that fine line of professionalism and creating lightheartedness in the workplace?
I think what you need to know is you got to read the room, right? Because there's always a time and place. And, you know, if I'm in the middle of a hearing or a termination, I'm not going to bust out a joke. Like, you know, there's always appropriate places. But sometimes it is in the most, like, I just had our monthly town hall today, and it's okay to like do a little joke in the chat and kind of loosen us up and get it going. I think you just really have to walk the line. And also, who's your audience? Is this a very serious meeting? Is this a training that we could lighten up and throw in a fun icebreaker or a fun, silly sharing moment? You just really have to walk that fine line.
Yeah. What role does culture or generational differences play as it relates to humor? We have 6 generations in the workplace right now, right? So if you think about even our oldest generation, which are traditionalists, down to my kids' generation, I don't know if I would want to work with my son or my daughter, right? So Generation Alpha, right? I have a 15-year-old son.
Oh my gosh.
What role does humor play as it relates to just culture within the workplace, but then also those generational differences where maybe one generation believes that you come to work, you do your job, there's no laughing, you go home, and others are like, no, I am going to have fun while I'm here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is also that fine line that you're always walking, right? Because you need to know who your audience is. I think one thing I have been able to do successfully is always bring my authentic self to work. And so I think people know that I'm going to be a little silly, I'm going to be a little goofy, and I'm going to probably make a joke here and there. Now, do I know when to do it? Yes. Do I know when to not do it? Also, yes. I think you just have to know. And as far as the generations, we all love to laugh. We all love to make little silly jokes here and there. But also it's knowing when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. And look, I've been on the not appropriate end before too, when I thought, well, this would be funny and this would lighten the mood. No, girl, no, it's not. No, take several seats, Jamie. So I think, it's always reading the room, knowing when it's okay and when it's not okay.
So now I'm curious. I want to know when it was not so... not the right time.
I was
humorous.
I was in a board meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we were voting on something to get passed. And I just made a silly comment. And now I heard my CEO snicker. She snickered. She thought it was funny, but no one else on the board. And some people were on Zoom and some people were there in the room with me. And I was like, oh, that was awkward. Probably shouldn't have made that joke. But luckily, what I needed to get passed got passed and approved, and we moved on.
Yeah. Are there negative consequences to where when humor kind of goes wrong in the workplace? What are those consequences, if any?
For sure. I mean, I think obviously there's going to be people that don't know, like don't have the comedic timing, right? Maybe don't know when they should, or maybe they take it too far. Maybe it's political. Maybe it's, sexist. Who knows, So there's always people that can obviously take it the wrong way or maybe too far. And it's just kind of having to have that conversation about, everybody's humor is different. And so we still have to have that filter on, unfortunately, when we're at work.
Yes. Agreed, 100%. Are there studies or research that shows the benefits of humor or laughter in the workplace?
I mean, if there isn't, I will be happily to conduct one, and I will show that it's 100% effective.
Yes. Well, can you tell our viewers then, like, what are some of those tangible or even intangible benefits of just making sure that they create an environment or an atmosphere where employees can feel that they can incorporate humor into the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is a big impact on cultural bonding, like within teams themselves. So, we get so used to having our regular one-on-ones or our regular team meetings monthly or weekly or whatever it is, but sometimes infusing fun into those to laugh. Like maybe it's some silly trivia where we're doing like emoji movie trivia where we all get to joke and kind of be free for the first 5 minutes of the meeting, or maybe it's the last 5 minutes, and just infusing fun and in these very serious things things because we all have work to do, but it's sometimes fun to just let your guard down and truly like embrace each other and get to know each other, and not so much like Brenda in accounting is bothering me again for my receipts because I never got them to her for my corporate card. You know what I mean? It's not just Brenda in accounting. It's Brenda in accounting who thinks Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You know what I mean?
Right. So what are some other ways? And I'm just thinking of kind of like ways that I have incorporated humor into the workplace, or even in presentations. There have been times where, just to check the mood, I've asked, and your comment sparked that thought for me, is when I asked them to share an emoji that expresses like how they feel in that moment, right? And utilizing some type of electronic polling to be able to do that, just to see how people respond. But for our viewers or for our audience, what do you recommend, or what are some ways that they can incorporate fun into the workplace?
I love to insert memes. Now, granted, I am the chief meme officer, but I love to include memes that are relevant to my presentation or my training. And it kind of gives you a stop and a pause to have everyone kind of laugh. But then you can take that joke or whatever it was, and you can expand on that from a training standpoint and be like, this is funny, but the seriousness is XYZ. So I love doing that. I also have inserted videos like TikToks I've seen that I have found funny that are also relevant to maybe what I'm training or talking about, and inserted those in and been like, this poor guy over here is complaining about his bonus or whatever it is. So I think it's fun to insert those little different fun things, whether it's, we've recently started doing little trivia, and so we do them during lunch. They're little 30 minutes for everyone across the entire company, which we're across the entire United States, and we do like little lunch trivia. And so we did one for the holiday movies. We're going to do one for 80s and 90s hits music. So I'm really looking forward to just taking a break out of the day, because it can be really stressful, and just having fun for 30 minutes.
Yeah, especially for those maybe industries or sectors where if I think about healthcare, right? It's a very serious, sometimes you're not delivering the best news ever in that setting. So how do you create that lighthearted atmosphere while making sure, again, depending on the industry that you're in, to make sure that you're serving your customer or your members, but being able to create an environment for your employees that really fosters a culture of just like belonging and connecting through laughter and humor.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I joke, I'm not saving lives, but they are. So let's allow them to have a moment, because what they do on a daily basis, on those hospital floors is insanely incredible. And I couldn't do it. And so let's allow them to have a moment to forget about, what happened today, and have a little giggle if they can, because sometimes they can't right now in that moment. And that's all right.
Right. What's one piece of advice you'd give about humor in professional settings?
Do it. Do it. But like I said, you always have to walk that fine line of when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate. Who's your audience? Joking about my yacht, which I don't have a yacht, but if I, joke that I had a yacht, no, girl, I don't have a yacht. But joking about like my yacht in front of people that are like hourly and I know how much they make, not smart, right? Like you need to understand like what you're saying and what kind of jokes you're portraying yourself as, but also who your audience is and who it might offend as well.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Really just talking about ways that we can incorporate laughter and humor into the workplace, and then also the importance of humor. For our audience, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I just think that being able to have your employees kind of let their guard down and have a little giggle truly shows that it's a trusting work environment, and that they bring their authentic self to work, which I think's very important, because I would say even 10 years ago, I didn't feel like I was able to do that as an HR professional. So it really evolved, being able to show up how I want to show up, because I can still do a good job being the person I am.
Yeah. And it made me think of another question, actually. What are your thoughts, or is there data that shows the impact of not only just the humor in the workplace as it relates to culture and generational differences, but also engagement?
Yeah. I mean, your team will be more engaged for sure. I don't have exact statistics, but if you're their leader and you have a team and you're showing that you can be vulnerable in yourself and authentic and bring humor, I think that speaks volumes. And I would say any CEO that can do that and show his team, whether it's his executive leadership team or even down to everyone. I mean, that's so important to be authentic and bring humor. And, I had our CEO recently did a Wrapped, like a Spotify rap, but did an actual rap. And I was like, this is going to be the cringiest thing I've ever seen. No, it was actually hilarious. And he nailed it. Mic drop. It's like things like that where I probably would have been like, no, sir, don't do that. But it was great and it was funny and everyone enjoyed it and it was very well received.
Well, what about those employees that say humor doesn't belong in the workplace? Those naysayers, because there are some that are out there. How do you recommend you address those individuals that believe that humor doesn't have a place in the workplace?
So truthfully, the first thing I ever try to do is I try to make them laugh. Because I want to get them laughing first. But, I think everything that I've said, it really is important that we're able to form a bond at work, because a lot of times we're at these jobs 40 plus hours a week, sometimes more, sometimes, and we're sometimes doing very difficult things, especially in the human resources space, but overall too, we're doing really hard things. And sometimes it's fun to have that lightheartedness kind of breathe in for a second and realize, like I said, I might not be saving lives, but they are. So what can I do to support my employees? What can I do? And if that's me and a little giggle and, so-and-so doesn't like it, then I'm going to try to get them to understand why I'm trying to infuse humor here.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie. This has been great. This is a topic that I believe is important. In addition to the work that we do within our organizations, creating an environment or fostering an environment where employees can feel like they can come and just kind of let their guards down to a certain extent and just really incorporate humor and fun into the work that they do. Just think about how much more they will show up and want to, again, go back to that engagement, extend that discretionary effort to get things done and just become more innovative, because they know at the end of the day, when they go home, they've had at least one or two good laughs while they've been at work. So I know I have started following you on Instagram, so I look forward to your memes. Is there a favorite meme in terms of the workplace that you have?
Yes. Any meme that shows me like as a joke, like a young, sprightly HR professional, and then me like pulling my hair out 10 plus years later are always my favorite. And I think the HR professionals love those too, because, we've all kind of been through the ringer. If you've been in HR 5+ years, we've seen some stuff.
Yes.
People be peopling.
Yes. People be people. That is absolutely right. That is humor in itself. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for being our guest. And we look forward to seeing more memes from you and just really taking what we have heard or saw throughout this broadcasting to just be able to create a more happy and humorous workplace.
Thank you so much for having me.
This podcast is approved for 0.5 professional development credits, PDCs, towards SHRM-CP and SHRM-SCP recertification. Enter this PDC activity ID in your SHRM activity portal to log your credit. 26PKZGQ. Once again, that's 26PKZGQ. Expires February 1st, 2026.
SHRM.